All right, it is January 12th. I'm getting this done before I get my first meeting. So it's Friday. Let's talk about some work stuff. So, what's going on with work? People are coming back from vacation. It's kind of a slow trickle in, but things are starting to pick up. So, past couple weeks, it's been basically dead quiet, right? We're a deployment team when there's not a lot of other people, other teams that are making changes and trying to roll things out. It's generally pretty quiet. So that's picking up a lot, right? Because people are coming back from vacation. So nothing too exciting there yet. Maybe by next week, more kind of things to share in that space. But for now, we'll keep the work stuff pretty short. Um, Worth mentioning, I think that it's kind of related to dev leader stuff and Microsoft. I had uh, good friend. I shouldn't say good friend. Like we don't know each other very well, but he's been extremely supportive, and I like to think of us as being good friends. um, he reached out and wanted me to write a dedicated sort of post letter, if you will, for his newsletter. So I'm going to do that. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because he was asking if I could do it about, getting a job at Microsoft and what that looks like. He was saying that he thinks a lot of his readers would be very interested in that. So I'm going to try to uh, get that done as a first draft today, and then he can review it. Maybe by next week for his newsletter, he can include that. So that's pretty exciting. I'm happy that he considered me for that. It's kind of flattering. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. Okay, other two sort of topics are meal coach and dev leader. Going into the meal coach stuff, we had some pretty good momentum last weekend for getting some changes out to make sure that we can structure the application such that coaches have a client list and they can see and interact with that, which is a huge gap. Um, we were aware that this existed because we've pivoted from starting with coaches all the way to okay, forget the coaches, like let's go right to sort of just general population. Our app will be the coach for them, and then now we're pivoting back because we have traction with coaches. Um, it's worth calling out the technology doesn't change. It's very much the same, but the user interface, the workflows and stuff like that, those change. And we've always like the folks that I'm working with, the engineers, like we've always felt that that kind of stuff is critical, right? It's time consuming to get that stuff right, which is why pivoting for us, even in the front end, is expensive. Not expensive in the sense that like it's so complicated for us to do, but we invest a lot of effort into doing it right. So for us to take a perspective and then want to pivot to another one, just in the workflows and stuff, there's concepts we can carry along that we're like, that's a good learning, but the sort of the focus really is time consuming. But fortunately, the technology is kind of similar in both paths. So that was really exciting to have just momentum and traction on that. Um, One of the three engineers I've tried to onboard recently was just saying like a pretty rough start to the year for him in his personal life. So hasn't dropped the ball. I reached out, just wanted to touch base with him, and he's like, no, really appreciate it, but just needs a little bit more time just because of some personal stuff. So um, I'm always like for this kind of stuff where it's on the side for people, I'm always super appreciative where people try to make time for it. And of course, I understand that there's life on top of on top of that stuff. So I just like to keep tabs with people and make sure they're not feeling a pressure from me, but also that if they need something from me to be able to get set up and be productive, then I can enable them. So that's cool. And then the other engineer that was onboarding, I'm gonna have him looking at a lot of the cloud infrastructure and stuff like that. He's a total wizard with it. We've been messaging back and forth a bit. I don't know if he's had time yet to poke around, but um, I appreciate this kind of philosophy where people are super experienced in areas. Like he's way ahead of me in this kind of stuff, has way more experience, and yet he comes into it going like, I have lots of ideas, but I'm not going to enforce them upon you, right? He's like, I want to be able to share my perspective, and then we can see like what will fit, and then just do the right thing. So I'm hoping that maybe sometime this weekend or over the next week, he kind of picks up on that. Um, but otherwise, I think we're back in a position where it's like, okay, cool, we landed a set of features. let's collect the feedback on it. And the next thing that we need to iterate on is this check-in process, because we were being the coach for the clients. Now that these clients have dedicated coaches, we need to make it such that when the client checks in, the coach gets that information and can provide the response of the check-in. Like, here's how you change your macros and go into the next week. So we just got to kind of build out that workflow, and we'll probably need some feedback on, like, I don't know if we're going to do like a quick first pass on what we think, especially because I work with a coach for myself, right? And I've worked with others, so we might be able to do a first pass and then and do it really lightweight and just say, like, try this, and if it doesn't work, like, tell us why, but at least they can be hands on with it. So I'll see what the story is there, but that's probably our next thing that we focus on. I think that's it for Meal Coach. So Dev Leader stuff, just lots of things going on. I have a cool thing that I want to show you, and I'm holding this pen because I'm really, and I keep looking over here because I'm excited about this thing that I picked up. I want to start being able to do more like system drawing and architecture stuff on the channel, and I don't have one of those cool like streaming deck things where I can press buttons and things just all flip around because I don't really live stream, but I'm gonna click over here and I'm gonna go to this vertical split mode. But what I'm excited about is that I can actually draw on this drawing pad. Can I move my camera over a little bit? Yeah, you can see like this here is a drawing pad. So I'm pretty pumped about that. And so what I want to be able to do is start making some video content. And the first thing, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do this for my newsletter that I put together today and then goes out tomorrow. But I'm hoping what I can do is do a bit of system drawing. And I want to talk about this system that I'm interested in building, which is going to be for um, basically metrics tracking. And there's a lot of, like, I mean, any social media platform, you can see your followers and your engagement. They all have their built in analytics. But what's really interesting for me is like a content creator is I want to be able to see the trend of that over time and in one spot. So I'm thinking about making a system where, like, super high level. I'm hoping I can talk into the mic, and I know you're going to be looking at the side of my head here. So maybe let's do this a little bit. Um, I'm hoping that I can build a system where you have some screen that you can go look at, and you would have kind of like this chart where you have hopefully, these kind of graphs where you have all your followers and stuff, different subscriptions, but you would have um, some visual like this and a legend where you essentially have all of the different platforms that you're posting content to. And like I said, like, I know all these platforms already have this kind of stuff built in, right? You can see your latest posts and all that. So um, I want to build something like this, and the UI to start would be extremely basic, just like this. I could start with a single platform, and my goal is that I want to document building this on the channel. So just to give you a super brief overview, if each one of these things that are here, if those are all like different platforms, what I'm thinking of doing is essentially building. I'm going to build this in Blazor, and I'm going to use a plugin architecture. So, um, what I'm thinking is that all of the data comes from a database, and I don't want to necessarily pull from the cloud APIs for each of these platforms to do it live. So that means if you have, that's supposed to be a cloud. That's also a cloud, and I'm gonna draw a boundary here. But if we have these different services, like different social media platforms, A and B, and goes up to N, for example, what I'm thinking is that you could go to this and then pull the data back each time. And I don't want to do that from like a live perspective because I want to have a trend built up over time. So that means for me that what I need to do is have something that runs, and what it's doing is going here to the cloud, and then when it comes back, it's going to write that into the database. That way, this part over here, if this is the UI and I have some other backend system for it, the UI will ask the system, get me the things, goes to the database, and then pulls that and puts it in the UI. So effectively, what I'm doing is not directly going to these platforms each and every time, but instead I'm going to be asking some service like down here that's going to be responsible for periodically aggregating this data and then putting it into the database here. So that's the plan. And what's cool about this is that the way that this works with this system is actually built on I would have some like API here and then different plugins. I'm running out of space. I need some practice at this, but these different plugins are the things that are responsible. So this is platform A, B, C, D, and that means if we have these other cloud providers, different platforms on the internet, right? We can have these things do the aggregation, and then have some type. I'm hoping, I haven't thought this through yet. I need to think about the schema, but I have some common interface that gets used for the data that's here so that it's all structured in the same way. So, for example, if I wanted Facebook followers or TikTok followers or whatever, like I don't need some custom schema for each of those. But that's my plan. I'm going to build something like that. I'm going to try to make some videos diagramming it out and just show the entire process. I will probably have it up on GitHub as well, so it'll all be free. But that's my plan, and that's my new toy. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. And otherwise, for Dev Leader, trying to I have a couple couple of relations being built up right now, which is awesome. So I have an exciting round of giveaways I'm going to be doing for JetBrains, which is awesome. They're sponsoring. I don't know if you call it sponsoring. I guess they're providing me some licenses to give away. So that's super cool. I'm gonna do that on social media. I have one more book to give away from Pact. Also super cool. I'm going to be doing a podcast interview next Wednesday with a group from India, actually. So it's going to be pretty late for me, but really happy that they reached out for me. That's really thoughtful of them. So I'll do that. And I'm doing two courses. I have two courses that I have to have prepared by the end of March. So it's going to be pretty hectic. I'm probably going to have to slow down on some of the content creation to facilitate that, but that's kind of life. So, kind of like with the last course, but this is going to be hopefully more straightforward for me to create these ones, but it's still going to take some time. So I gotta get a head start on that. I'm hoping I have a long weekend here coming up, so I'm gonna try to make some progress on that. And Nick Chaps has had some feedback for me, so hopefully you're noticing my video quality is a little bit better. So we looked at some of that. So I'm trying to check it out like on my other screen over here, but hopefully it's like less pixelated. So I just have a better lens. And then what was the other thing? Oh, so better lens, and I'm using an Elgato converter instead of some cheaper, rip off kind of one. So hopefully this looks better. But I gotta send him some samples of audio and video to make sure it's kind of aligned because I think mine, for the standard that he's trying to hold for his courses, were just a little bit off. So he was like, no problem, but like going forward, let's make this better. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I got goal. I think I mentioned this in the last video probably. I got goals set for the year. So I want to try to get up to 5,000 subscribers by mid-year, so by the end of June. I think it's totally feasible, but it's going to require that I have a bit of a ramp up in subscribers, right? So if I'm just doing it linearly, I think I gain about just under 300 subscribers a month. So that will be off target, I think. I think that's only like 1,800 subscribers. So maybe I'd make it if I can stay consistent with that. It'd be 40 something hundred, 4,600, 4,400. So I just gotta find some ways to tweak and tune that. But yeah, I'm just invest currently, like just so you understand, I'm trying to look at different ways to put content out as well. So different forms of posts and things like that. Um, because my goal is like on these channels, like I want to be able to personally, I want to be able to publish articles and create videos. a lot of the interaction that I'm doing on social media channels, that's not something I personally want to be doing forever. It's extremely time consuming, but those drive a ton of the traffic. So I need to make sure that I'm finding ways to optimize that. And just the reality is like that doesn't scale at a personal level, just because it takes so much time. If I didn't have a 9 to 5 job, then yeah, like I could look at that. But I'm also trying to launch Meal Coach and stuff, right? So I think that long term, like the content engagement and creation like on these social media platforms has to taper off. But in the meantime, I really need to push for better, more engaging content so more people are kind of aware of the channel. So that's my goal right now. Feedback on the last newsletter for a poll that I put out is people want more ASP.NET Core content, Blazor content. So try to get that as a focus. It's got to come up with some good topics, I think, to share out. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. And I think that's it for now. I have an important meeting coming up in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to log off for that. Thank you so much for all your support, and I will see you next week. Take care and have a good one.